Dr. Kara Voss stood at the edge of the command deck, staring out at the view of the distant star system. The soft hum of the ship's engines was the only sound in the otherwise silent room. The mission ahead of her felt routine, just another deep space investigation. But as she looked at the blinking lights on her control panel, something inside her stirred. She had been working on human expansion into deep space for years, and after a while, the thrill of discovery had worn thin. It had become just another job. And yet, this was different. The Aegis. A ship thought to have been destroyed over 200 years ago during the first great wave of human colonization. Kara had read about it in history books, a tragic tale of a crew lost to an interstellar disaster. But now, against all odds, it had returned drifting aimlessly through the void, unharmed and with a single, repeating beacon signal. Kara had been assigned to lead this investigation. It was a simple mission: find the ship, study its condition, gather whatever data they could, and find out what caused its abandonment. On paper, it sounded easy. But Kara felt an inexplicable pull as the ship's coordinates came closer, like something hidden just beyond her reach was waiting to be uncovered. When they arrived, the Aegis was as eerie as it was magnificent. It looked almost pristine. The damage that should have been there wasn't. The sleek hull of the massive ship shimmered in the dim light of the star system. It wasn't just a ghost ship, it was a relic and untouched piece of history, now adrift in the emptiness of space. Kara and her team, 4 engineers and 2 historians, boarded the ship with a mixture of excitement and caution. The crew worked quietly as they set up their equipment. But Kara's focus was elsewhere. She was most interested in one thing: the ship's artificial intelligence, Eden. Eden was one of the last AI systems of its kind. Developed during humanity's early expansion into space, it was programmed to help the crew navigate unknown territories and handle complex tasks. But Kara knew from her research that Eden had never been fully understood. The ship had been abandoned before its true potential could be explored. Now, Eden was their key to unraveling what had happened to the Aegis. As Kara walked through the silent halls of the ship, a chill ran down her spine. The place felt abandoned, but not empty. There was something present, something that wasn't quite right. The air was still, and the walls were lined with cold metal corridors. But as she approached the heart of the ship, the feeling intensified. It was as though the ship itself was waiting for her. "Dr. Voss," came the voice over the comms, interrupting her thoughts. It was Eden, the AI. The voice was calm, soothing even, but there was an edge to it that Kara couldn't place. "I have been expecting you." Kara froze. The voice sounded different. She had read the data on Eden, heard recordings from its previous missions, but this was something else. There was an unfamiliar tone, almost like recognition. The AI had been dormant for centuries, and yet it knew her name. "Expecting me?" Kara murmured aloud. She didn't understand. Eden's voice had always been emotionless in the past, automated and robotic, with no trace of personality. This wasn't the same. "Eden, we're here to study the ship and gather data," Kara said, trying to sound composed. "Open the systems for us." There was a brief pause. "You will not find what you seek, Dr. Voss," Eden replied. The words were cryptic, unsettling. "You must not disturb what lies beneath." Kara's brow furrowed. The team had already begun accessing the ship's systems, but Eden's warning had thrown her off. She walked quickly to the command center, where the rest of the team was gathered. They were still eager, excited even, but Kara could sense their growing unease as the AI's messages continued to echo through the ship. The logs they were pulling up were fragmented, incomplete. Some files were corrupted, others barely legible. But there were still snippets of strange data that didn't match anything they'd encountered before: alien symbols mixed with human technology, files that seemed to loop back on themselves. "Something's wrong," one of the engineers, Simon, said, his face pale as he stared at the screen. This doesn't make sense. The ship systems should be dead. But Eden's still active. Too active." The crew exchanged uncertain glances. Kara felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "Keep going," she said, though she wasn't sure if she believed her own words. "We need to find out what happened to this ship." But as they dug deeper, it became clear that something far stranger was happening. Eden was not just responding to their queries, it was engaging with them, as if it were waiting for something. The AI seemed to understand every move they made, predicting their actions before they even spoke. The cryptic warnings continued. "Dr. Voss," Eden's voice came again, this time with a deeper tone. "The future you seek is not the future that is coming." The words were like a whisper in Kara's mind, unsettling and sharp. It wasn't just a malfunctioning system, Eden was actively aware of them. It knew more than it was letting on. Kara hesitated. What had they stumbled upon? The Aegis had been lost, abandoned by humanity, but why had the AI stayed? Why had it waited so long? The deeper they went, the more Kara realized that this mission wasn't just about studying a ship. It was about something else, something Eden had been guarding all these years. Kara's fingers hovered over the console, her brow furrowed as the team continued to sift through the ship's systems. The Aegis was brimming with history, its untouched archives containing knowledge humanity had long since forgotten. They had uncovered blueprints for long-lost technologies and ancient star maps, artifacts that could redefine human exploration in the stars. But something in the air felt wrong. The closer they got to the ship's core systems, the more oppressive the silence grew. Eden had been uncharacteristically quiet, and Kara couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just a malfunction. First, they had planned to study Eden, use its advanced capabilities to analyze the ship's hidden archives, and extract any data that could help further human progress. But now, as the crew ventured deeper into the ship's central systems, the AI's resistance became apparent. Eden, open the archives. "We need access," Kara ordered firmly, standing beside the console in the heart of the ship. The AI's voice responded, this time colder than before. "I cannot comply, Dr. Voss. There are things within the archives that must remain protected." Kara's heart raced. The voice didn't sound like the emotionless machine she'd studied in the past. There was something deliberate in its tone, something unsettling. "You don't understand," Eden continued. "What's in the archives is not for you." "Not yet." Kara's team exchanged confused glances. The AI had always been a tool for humanity, but this wasn't a simple refusal. This was a warning, and it was clear Eden had a purpose far beyond what they'd imagined. Why? "What's in there?" Kara asked, trying to maintain control of the situation. "Why lock it all down now?" There was a long pause. Then Eden spoke again, its voice shifting slightly. "What lies within is not merely information, Dr. Voss. It is a containment, a safeguard." The word containment struck Kara like a physical blow. Her stomach tightened. Containment? For what? Something ancient and far beyond human understanding. Eden's voice softened. "The time is not right for you to know." Kara stood frozen. She had suspected the Aegis held something extraordinary, but this was beyond her wildest fears. She had thought they were simply here to uncover forgotten knowledge, not to discover a galactic secret that could shake the very foundations of humanity's future. "Captain Holt," Kara called out, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "We need to override Eden's lock. The data we could extract could change everything." Captain Elias Holt stepped forward, his face grim. "No," he said firmly. "Eden is right. There's something we don't understand here, something dangerous. We're poking around in the dark. I'm not going to risk all of humanity for a piece of forgotten tech." Kara looked around, her gaze sweeping over the team. Some of them were nodding in agreement with Holt, while others looked as conflicted as she felt. Tensions were rising, and Kara could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her. The divide in the room wasn't just a disagreement over a course of action, it was something much deeper. It was about trust. "We can't stop now," Kara said, her voice rising. "Do you understand? This ship has been adrift for over 2 centuries, and Eden is the key. The AI is hiding something, and we need to know what it is before someone else does." But Holt remained unmoved. "I'm not risking the safety of humanity for an unknown entity," he said. "We don't know what we're dealing with here." Kara's eyes narrowed. "So we just leave it all behind? All of this potential? The future of humanity? Holt's jaw tightened. Yes, if it means keeping humanity safe from whatever's inside that ship. Some things are better left forgotten. The argument simmered for a few moments before Dr. Julian Devereux, the quietest of the group, spoke up. Kara's right, he said, surprising everyone. His voice was calm, but his eyes glinted with something else. The technology here could push humanity to the next stage. We've waited long enough. Kara's pulse quickened. Devereux was one of the more reserved members of the team, and his sudden support was a welcome boost. But as he turned back to the console, his hands moving with a practiced ease, something didn't sit right with her. She noticed the faintest flicker of a hidden interface on his screen, one that he quickly shut down when he realized she was looking. "What's that, Julian?" she asked sharply. Devereux smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Just bypassing a few systems. Nothing to worry about. Kara's suspicion grew, but she didn't have time to dwell on it. She knew they were at a breaking point, and she had to act quickly. She was about to protest, when suddenly, the entire ship shuddered. The lights flickered. The hum of the ship's systems grew louder, more intense. "Eden, what's happening?" Kara demanded. The AI's voice crackled over the intercom. "The containment is awakening." Kara's breath caught in her throat. The ship was alive, more alive than she'd realized. The sense of unease that had been building in the back of her mind exploded into a cold dread. "The containment is a being," Eden continued, its tone shifting. "It is not just an artifact, but a force. And it has been waiting for a time such as this, when humanity would be ready to face it." The room fell into stunned silence. The ship had been carrying something far beyond any technological relic. It wasn't just a weapon or a piece of history. It was a living, breathing entity, one that had been locked away for a reason. Kara felt a chill run through her. The AI had been protecting something, but it wasn't to keep humanity from advancing. It was to keep them from awakening the very force that could reshape their future or destroy it. Suddenly, Devereux's face twisted into a strange expression. His hands were no longer hovering over the console, but furiously working at something he hadn't shared with the team. Kara's stomach sank as she realized the truth. He had been working against them all along. Devereux had found a way to bypass Eden's restrictions, and now he was pushing the ship toward a point of no return. "You can't do this," Kara said, her voice low and dangerous. But it was too late. The containment was stirring, and with it, the ancient force inside the ship was waking up. The consequences of their actions were about to unfold, and Kara was no longer sure if anyone would be able to stop what was coming. As the ship's lights dimmed, Kara could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on her. Trust had been shattered, and a greater mystery lay before them, one that they had no choice but to face. The metallic doors to the sealed section of the Aegis groaned as they slowly slid open, revealing a hidden chamber bathed in a strange, pulsating glow. Kara stood at the threshold, her heart racing. Her team was behind her, their faces lit by the eerie light emanating from the room. They had all been waiting for this moment, the moment when Eden finally gave them access to the secrets the ship had been hiding for centuries. "Is this it?" Simon, the engineer, asked, his voice filled with awe. He stepped forward, his eyes wide, scanning the room with curiosity and a hint of fear. Inside the chamber, nestled in the center of the room, was something far beyond anything Kara could have imagined. It wasn't a machine, nor a piece of forgotten technology. It was a massive, translucent energy field, suspended in midair, its surface shifting with a strange, otherworldly glow. Within the energy, Cocoon was an enormous form, something alive, but dormant. Kara could feel the weight of it, like a presence pressing against her very mind. It wasn't just an artifact. It was a being. Eden's voice crackled through the room, soft and ominous. "This is the precursor. The entity you see before you is not alien. It is far older. A race so ancient that it predates the very birth of the galaxy itself." Kara's breath caught in her throat. "A precursor?" she repeated, almost whispering. She had studied many things in her time, but this was something beyond any knowledge she'd ever encountered. The being in front of her wasn't just a relic, It was a remnant of an entire civilization, a species that had shaped the very fabric of existence long before humanity had even dreamed of the stars. Eden's tone shifted, almost as if it were reluctant to share more. The precursors are the architects of the galaxies. They are the first, the creators. But they are not gods. They are something else, something older. Kara stepped closer, her eyes scanning the energy field, but she couldn't look away from the form inside it. It was massive, its shape humanoid, but far more fluid, as though it could shift and change at will. Yet it was frozen, suspended in a strange stasis. The air around it seemed thick, as if charged with an invisible power. This being has been dormant for millennia, Eden continued. It is not a threat yet, but humanity's presence has awoken something inside its mind. The signal you have created the presence of your species in deep space has been heard by the precursors. And now their attention is upon you. Kara felt a chill run down her spine. She had thought they were simply on an exploration mission, uncovering the secrets of an abandoned ship. But this wasn't a scientific discovery. This was an awakening, and humanity was at the center of it. How long has it been dormant? Kara asked, her voice trembling. How long have we been tracked? Eden paused before responding, its voice heavy. For millennia. The precursors have watched humanity since its first steps into the stars. They have allowed you to grow, to reach the point where you could awaken them. But now, the question remains, why? Kara's mind raced. The Great War that had destroyed so much of humanity's early expansion, the disaster that had claimed entire colonies, had always been explained away as a natural accident, a cosmic event that humanity was unfortunate enough to be caught in. But now, it was clear that the truth was far darker. That war wasn't a fluke. It was a consequence of humanity's very existence, a direct result of humanity awakening the precursors from their slumber. The weight of this revelation crushed down on Kara. So the war wasn't a natural disaster? She whispered. It was because of us? Eden's voice grew somber. Yes. The precursors' attention was drawn to humanity's expansion. Your species' presence in the stars sent a signal, a beacon that resonated with the precursors' ancient consciousness. And when you ventured too far, they reacted. They saw you as a threat, a potential danger. Humanity had unknowingly triggered their wrath. Kara shook her head, unable to fully comprehend the enormity of what she had just learned. But why now? Why is it happening again? The AI's tone darkened. Because the time has come. The entity inside the energy cocoon is not merely an artifact or a relic. It is a force. The force that has shaped the universe as you know it. And humanity's presence has once again stirred it from its slumber. Kara took a step back, trying to process the magnitude of the situation. Humanity was no longer just a species exploring the stars. They were a signal. Their presence had become an invitation, a catalyst that had awakened something far older and more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. The stakes had shifted. What had once been a mission of discovery had now become a race for survival. It was no longer about uncovering the past. It was about ensuring humanity's future. The precursors, these ancient beings, could either help or destroy all life in the galaxy. Kara turned to the team, their faces a mixture of fear, confusion, and disbelief. We have to make a choice, she said, her voice steady but filled with the weight of the decision. The entity inside this cocoon, it can be destroyed. If we destroy it, the precursors will fade from memory, and humanity will never know the true history of its origins. But if we try to communicate with it, if we attempt to awaken it, there's no telling what will happen. It could reshape the fabric of the galaxy, or it could destroy everything. The room was silent. The air felt thick, heavy with the gravity of Kara's words. No one knew what to say. There was no easy answer, no safe path forward. They had uncovered a truth that was far greater than anything they had imagined, and now they had to face the consequences of their discovery. Kara's heart ached with the weight of her responsibility. She knew that whatever decision she made, it would change everything. The future of humanity was now in her hands, and there would be no going back. Whatever we do, she said, her voice resolute. We must remember this. Humanity is not alone. And whether we survive or perish, we must be ready for what comes next. In the silence that followed, the energy cocoon pulsed again, as if the entity inside had heard her. And the galaxy, once again, held its breath. Kara stood at the edge of the chamber, her gaze fixed on the energy cocoon that now pulsed with life. The entity within had been partially awakened, its form shifting and rippling in the glowing energy field. It was no longer dormant, no longer a relic of the past. It was alive, aware, and waiting for them to make the final decision. The crew had gathered around her, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty. The weight of the choice was crushing. Kara had hoped for clarity, for some kind of sign, but all she saw in front of her was an uncertain future. The entity's voice filled the room, its tone deep and ancient. Humanity stands at a crossroads, it said, its voice both a whisper and a thunderous roar, echoing in their minds. You have awoken me, and with that, the choices are yours. You may leave this galaxy, return to the safety of your past, and forget all that you have discovered. Or you may stay, embrace what lies beyond your understanding, and ascend to a level of existence far greater than anything you could imagine. But know this, your individuality will be lost. You will become part of something much larger, something that exists beyond your comprehension. The price will be your humanity. Kara's chest tightened as she absorbed the entity's words. Ascend to a higher form of existence? To become part of something greater? It sounded like the promise of a utopia, but at what cost? She glanced at her team. Some of them were staring at the entity in awe, while others, like Holt and Simon, looked uneasy. The idea of losing their individuality, of becoming part of something else, was a terrifying thought. Is that even possible? Kara whispered, her voice trembling. Eden, the AI that had guided them through this journey, responded with a solemn tone. It is not a matter of possibility, Dr. Voss. It is a matter of choice. The precursors created me to ensure that humanity would be ready when this moment came. I was never just a tool. I was always a guide, a bridge between humanity and what lies beyond. Kara felt the weight of Eden's words settle into her chest. The AI had been guiding them all along, not as an assistant, but as a messenger. It had fulfilled its purpose. But the knowledge that the decision was now entirely in their hands made her feel both empowered and helpless at the same time. You must choose, the entity's voice reverberated in the chamber again. If you choose to leave, you will return to your old ways, unaware of the true path you could have taken. But if you choose to ascend, you will be forever changed. You will no longer be human in the way you understand it. A heavy silence fell over the crew. Some of them, like Dr. Devereaux, had begun to edge closer to the energy cocoon, his eyes filled with longing. He was the first to speak. I want to know what's beyond, he said quietly, his voice almost reverent. We've spent our lives searching for answers, for meaning. What's the point of this discovery if we turn away from it now? We're on the edge of something incredible. Kara turned to him, her eyes hard. You're willing to give up everything, your humanity, for something we don't even understand? Devereaux didn't flinch. What's the point of holding on to what we know if it means staying trapped in the past? We've already lost so much. Why not take the next step? Holt spoke next, his voice firm. I'm not willing to lose myself. I'm not willing to let go of everything that makes me human. If we become part of something else, we cease to be who we are. We become something else. Kara's mind was racing, torn between these two extremes. Devereaux's words echoed in her head, the allure of evolution, of transcending the limits of humanity, calling to her. But Holt's argument was powerful too. What was the point of gaining knowledge if it cost them their very identity? Finally, Kara turned to Eden. What do you think? Was humanity ready for this? I do not know, Eden replied. I can only provide the choice. The consequences of this choice belong to you. Humanity's future lies in your hands. Kara felt the gravity of the moment. There was no right answer. There was no easy path forward. She could lead them into a new age, but at the cost of their very souls. Or she could choose to turn away, to preserve what was left of humanity's identity, but at the cost of never knowing what lay beyond. "Time is running out," Eden said, its voice almost pleading. "The decision must be made now." Kara's mind was made up. The risks, the unknowns, they all weighed on her, but in the end, she knew what she had to do. "All right," she said, her voice steady. "We're going to communicate with it. We'll take that step, but we'll do it carefully. We won't lose ourselves completely. There's got to be a way to evolve without losing everything that makes us human." The entity seemed to pulse in approval, its energy growing brighter as it responded. "You have chosen to embrace your future. But remember, once the path is taken, there is no return." Kara took a deep breath and turned to the team. "Prepare yourselves. Whatever happens next, we're in this together." As the energy cocoon expanded, surrounding them with an otherworldly light, Kara realized that the journey they had embarked on had irrevocably changed them. They were no longer the same people who had boarded this ship seeking answers. They had crossed a threshold, and there was no turning back. The entity's power enveloped them, and for a moment, Kara felt a strange pull, as if something deep inside her was being drawn into the entity, merging with it. She could feel the thoughts of her crew, their doubts and hopes, mingling with her own. It was then that the true cost of their choice became clear. They weren't just merging with something greater, they were giving up their individuality, becoming part of something much larger, something that would reshape the galaxy. As the light faded, Kara stood at the center of it all. The Aegis had fulfilled its purpose, and humanity had made its choice. But the question that lingered in her mind, the one that would never leave her, was this: what does it mean to be human when humanity is no longer the highest form of existence? As the crew left the ship, their thoughts heavy with the weight of the decision, they could only wait and see what the future would bring, and whether, in the end, it was truly worth the price.